In SDL Trados Studio, the date format is not customizable. How dates are recognized and how numbers are recognized is determined by the translation memory. So if we, for this example here, if we go to project settings, we have this translation memory, and we go to the settings of the memory, fields and settings, and this is where we see the non-translatables or placeables that are going to be recognized. And so that includes dates and times and numbers. But let's see how they're recognized. If we go here into each of these segments that are supposed to be dates with different formats, we see that there is an automated translation where the memory suggests that you replace this with exactly the same thing. But this is not being recognized as a date. These are numbers that are being recognized as separated by a hyphen or a dash. So those are being recognized as numbers, and that's why there is no auto substitution here. The only one, so you can see those are transferred over exactly the same. This one is recognized as a date, and you can see the blue underline covering the entire thing. And so this is because I have my system set up to Spanish Mexico, or the project set up to Spanish Mexico, then it's using this, it's recognizing this as the date and this is the month, and so that's why it's switching it over. But look at what happens here. It's not always completely reliable. In this case, this one is also being recognized as a date, but it's switching it over like that incorrectly. And then these are recognized as two sets of numbers, and then this one as well, and that's how it's being transferred. So that's not the most efficient way of handling dates, because the automated translation or replacement is not going to be what we need consistently. Now, the auto substitution settings for dates are determined in the specific language pair. For this example, English United States to Spanish Mexico, and then under the translation memory settings, auto substitution, dates and times. And this is the only these are the only auto substitution settings that we can change. We can just change the format of the long date, the format of the short date, which can be switched, for example, from slashes to hyphens like that. And but it cannot, we can't force it to recognize this format as the date and switch it over to something else. So we can recognize that, and then the long time and the short time, we say okay. So if we now go here, we will see that this is the option that we have because we made that change. And so that's the not the auto substitution, but the automated translation that is being offered. The auto substitution would be given by pressing Control, comma, and that's where we have it. It's exactly the same thing, except that we are placing it differently, right, with Control, comma. In these segments, because there is no other content in the segment and these are recognized as placeables, then it's given as an automated translation. So, but if these dates were part of running text, then we would be able to place these dates with Control, comma, which is the placeable, the quick place shortcut. So these, however, are not being recognized as dates. See, so that's still, those are still numbers. So a way to handle this or to work with this instead of doing that is we could, if that's not what we want to do, we could go to the settings in the TM, fields and settings again, and we could disable dates and numbers recognition so that we don't get the auto substitution. And by doing that, I'm going to clear all the segments here. By doing that, as we go into each of the segments, we are no longer, and this got stuck somehow, the blue lines, but we are no longer getting the numbers or the dates recognized. So let's say that what we want to do is, in general, we want the second number to appear first, the first number to appear second, and we either want to keep or we want to change the separators here. So the best way to do that actually is, first we could filter all the segments that contain dates. And to do that, it's the best way to do that is to use regular expressions in the filter. Once we have the segments properly filtered, and let me try and do this. I'm going to use, well, this, you won't see the effect here because these are only, all of these are just dates. I don't have any segments in this sample document where there's also text. But you could, you would enter the expression here for the source and then select regular expression. This is the advanced display filter. You could also do that in the regular display filter, which is found under the review tab. But what I want to do once we have the segments filtered is I would do a replacement also with regular expressions. So in order to do that, select all the segments that you have filtered. And for this, I just copied source to target, and I'm going to do Control H. And with Control H, I get this dialog box, which is the Find and Replace dialog box. Now these are regular expressions that I have placed here, and the way these regular expressions work is I am making groups because whenever you want to replace something with regular expressions, you need groups. And so the groups are, each group is in parentheses. So this has 5 groups. The first group is this one, which is a number, that's a digit, 1 or more times, followed by either a dash or, that's the or character, the alternating character, a slash, or a period. Now a period is a special, or a dot is a special character in regular expressions, so it needs to be escaped with a backslash. And we have another number, 1 or more, and then the same thing, either a dash or hyphen, a slash, or a dot, and then another number with 1 or more digits. The replacement, each of these are numbered groups. So this is group 1, group 2, group 3, group 4, and group 5. And so to do the replacement, I want group 3, which is this one here, to appear first, and that is represented with a $sign and the number 3. And then I want group 2, so any of those characters that appear in the original text will be placed in that position again. And then I want group 1, which is this number here. And then again, I want the character in group 2. And of course, I could have group 4 here, but 2 and 4 are the same. So I just use 2 twice. And then lastly, I want group 5. I need to make sure that I check the use regular expressions checkbox. And so look at what will happen now. I will say find next and replace, replace, replace. Right? And that's all of them. Of course, I could do a replace all, and it would all be done at once. So I could do this. Once again, I'm going to copy it over, and I'm going to call back that replacement dialog. And I'm just going to say find next and then replace all, and all the replacements are made like this, right? Now, don't mind this warning sign that came from earlier, right? Which from something I was doing earlier, but it has nothing to do with this. So the next thing would be to either change the segment status, for example, change the segment, I'm right-clicking there, change the segment status to translated. And what I would do is I would lock these segments so nothing happens to them. So the next thing is Control L, and that's it. That's how we can handle dates. And if this was a filtered view, then you can reset the filter and continue working.